the Consumer Electronics Show, the biggest electronics show in the entire world, happens every year at CES. This year, more or less virtual because of our situation. So we are giving you coverage right now because a lot of people have missed out on it. So now the cool stuff, the LG rollable phone, a very different take on foldables. TCL came up with some stuff and a whole lot more.
Traditionally held in Las Vegas, this year CES 2021 took place as a virtual event and introduced a slew of new products. From prototype phones to wearables and true wireless headphones, there was something for everyone. Let's take a look at some of the most interesting devices launched. If 2020 was all about foldable phones, 2021 is switching it up with a brand new trend. LG kicked off the show with a look at a rollable smartphone prototype and later confirmed that it will be a real product soon enough. The phone can extend its screen to go from smartphone to tablet mode and is rumored to release sometime after September. Expect this to be an expensive one. TCL too jumped onto the rollable bandwagon with not just one but two different models. The first is a more conventional phone that opens from 6.7 to 7.8 inches. The second, however, is designed to open in two directions and can open up like a scroll. This gives you massive screen real estate in a small form factor. In addition to futuristic hardware, TCL also introduced two new phones under the TCL 20 branding, the TCL 20 5G and TCL 20 SE. The two budget phones include Snapdragon 690 and Snapdragon 460 processors respectively and will be priced affordably. Anker, the popular audio and charging equipment manufacturer, introduced the Soundcore Liberty Air 2 Pro. These true wireless earphones include bells and whistles like custom active noise cancellation, 26 hours of battery life and a focus on deep bass. The earphones are already on sale for USD $129.99. You think there are too many wireless earphones on the market? Well, Mobvoi is doing something different with the Mobvoi Earbuds Gesture controls that let you answer calls with just a nod of your head. The headphones are also pushing battery life with claims of 10 hours on a single charge and an additional 40 hours using the case. Coming soon for just $89, the Mobvoi Earbuds Gesture will be the one to look out for. Talking about earphones, what if you want something completely unique? Enter the JLab Buds frames. These clip-on earphones can attach to your existing sunglasses or spectacles, turning them into headphones. Unlike the Bose frames, the JLab frames will let you use your existing sunglasses, which makes them a lot more versatile. The affordable $50 price doesn't hurt either. But what if you prefer more traditional headphones? V-Moda is finally getting into the noise cancelling game with the M200 ANC. While not much has changed with the design here, the headphones remain fashionable and sport customizable metal plates. Additionally, the headphones can be connected to multiple devices. Priced at $499, the V-Moda M200 ANC is an attractive alternative to the Apple AirPods Pro Max. CES also brought with it innovation in the wearable space. The Apple Watch is a great product, but the Mudra Band wants to take it a step ahead. The band is an Apple Watch strap that adds gesture control to the smartwatch. The Bluetooth strap uses sensors to read your brain signals and act on it. For example, you can program the band to snooze an alarm when you tap your finger and thumb, or silence a call by flipping your wrist. The Mudra Band ships in March for $179. Competing against the Xiaomi Mi Band and the OnePlus Band is the new Honor Band 6. Launched at CES, it offers 14 days of battery life, 5 ATM water resistance, heart rate and SpO2 sensors, as well as female health tracking. The fitness wearable should hopefully make its way to India soon. Now, it won't be CES without some truly crazy devices. The Yves Saint Laurent Rouge sur Monsieur pairs up with an app on your phone to create any shade of lipstick you could want. The device uses liquid lipstick cartridges and can convert them into a custom lipstick color at the press of a button. Using the app, you can select any color you want to create a custom shade. Taking things a step further, the app will let you choose your hair color and eye color, using which it can give recommendations for shades.
Now let's move on to this, the Mi 10i. I gave it an introduction, which is a good way. I mean, I'm almost doing PR work for Xiaomi. 200 crores worth of this phone have already sold. That's the claim that Xiaomi has made. Now, I wouldn't be too surprised because they've done some things very well with it. So I'll give you my first impressions as I hold the phone, and then we'll get into our detailed review. So good in terms of design. I mean, it's got this, this one shade to the other, pretty sophisticated way that they've actually executed it. 108 megapixel camera, but I'm still going to reserve judgment on it because still I don't try it out for a long time. I will not say that this is great in a 20,000 rupee phone. Then pretty good screen, 750G is the processor. You can buy it in two different variants. So overall, I would say they've got most things right, and of course, as always, the price. Here's our review.
Xiaomi Mi 10i. Xiaomi is no stranger to creating budget smartphones that offer a lot of bang for the buck. Adding another feather in that hat is the latest Mi 10i. It is a budget device that looks good in your hand as well as on the spec sheet. For the affordable price of Rs 20,999, here's what you get in this package. Xiaomi says the I here stands for India, but it might as well stand for incredible, because that's what using this phone feels like. The big 6.67-inch LCD screen has great color reproduction. It also gets bright enough and bundles in a 120Hz refresh rate, which certainly gives this phone an extra edge over other devices in this price range. While we could take this down a notch to 60Hz, using this at 120Hz certainly put the phone through its paces. There was enough juice in this phone when we started our day. We tuned into YouTube to get our daily dose of refreshing videos and were pleased to see that the viewing experience was amazing. The phone feels good in the hand despite being heavier than some other smartphones. Next up came gaming. Of course, 120Hz came into play here, as we simply wanted an absolute smooth experience. The phone managed it pretty well, as the Snapdragon 750G chipset inside seemed perfectly optimized by Xiaomi for all everyday tasks. Speaking of everyday tasks, using this phone feels as smooth as gliding a hot knife through butter. Everything on the spec sheet just screams smooth. The 120Hz screen, the fast Snapdragon 750G processor, or the 8GB RAM inside. You won't be complaining about lags or delays while opening your favorite apps, web browsing, scrolling or texting. The Mi 10i comfortably handled it all. Of course, cameras are a big factor here. Big here isn't a figure of speech. The camera bump on this phone is huge. This is so because it is a quad camera system. There is a 108 megapixel main sensor, an 8 megapixel ultra wide lens, a 2 megapixel macro and 2 megapixel depth sensor. And throughout our testing, the Mi 10i was a consistent performer across the board. The 108 megapixel mode captured a lot of details. The pictures had good quality and high dynamic range. While there was some loss in picture quality while switching to the 8 megapixel ultra wide lens, it's not something we found ourselves complaining about. Even the macro shots were surprisingly good. The 16 megapixel front camera also takes some good selfies, and the overall camera performance was satisfactory. Kudos to the 4820 mAh battery of the Mi 10i. We got through the day with ease. But what makes this deal sweeter is that the phone supports 33 watt fast charging, and it goes from 0 to 100 in less than 60 minutes. At the end of the day, the only thing that's holding this phone back is the software experience. It ships with MIUI on top of Android 10, which means there is a lot of bloatware inside the phone. If that is something that you can look past, the Mi 10i is the phone for you. It offers an incredible user experience and is 5G ready. For the price of Rs 20,999, the Mi 10i is quite possibly the newest budget king.
Let's take a quick break right now on the Cell Guru Show. When we come back, lots more. 2,499, the OnePlus Fitness Band is here. Yes, that's the price. So OnePlus did something that a lot of people were not expecting from them. So what game do they play? They basically come up with the product, say that it's more premium, prove that it is premium because their execution is very good, and then their price is about 20-25% more than the rest of the brands for something fairly similar. They didn't play that game with this one, the OnePlus Band. Now, to look at it, there's nothing different about it. I expected a much more premium design from them, so I'm very disappointed with the design. But in terms of features, it's pretty much out there. In fact, surprisingly, even their press release was a comparison between this and the Mi Band 5 because both are at the same price. Let's take a quick look at this, the OnePlus Band.
As January comes around, we all wish to become fitter and start working out. So this makes it the perfect time to invest in a fitness band, and OnePlus seems to have capitalized on that opportunity by launching the OnePlus Fitness Band. Priced very competitively at 2,499 rupees, the OnePlus Fitness Band goes toe-to-toe with the Mi Band 5. The design of the band is fairly similar to what you see on the market. A pill-shaped tracker is inside the silicone strap that makes up the OnePlus Band. The user interface here is smooth and all the usual suspects are present. Controlling the band is easy. Swipe up and down for navigating through the apps, swipe right to go back, or cover the screen with your hand to turn the screen off. You get multiple workout modes for indoor and outdoor running, freestyle workouts, swimming, yoga and whatnot. All your workout activity can be seen on the band, like the time, calories burned, heart rate. There's also a heart rate monitor here that seems fairly accurate, but unlike the competition, the step tracking here is not the best. Not what we expected from a OnePlus product. However, the OnePlus Fitness Band also has an SpO2 sensor, which isn't something you see at this price point. The tracking isn't a medical estimate, but it does the job. OnePlus has made their own OnePlus Health app to pair and control the band from your smartphone. Pairing is a fairly easy task, and the app shows all the information like steps taken, workout logs, all heart rate and SpO2 monitoring logs. The app also lets you customize watch faces, and there are plenty of those available here, some basic ones and also some that are inspired from OnePlus stock wallpapers. However, the software optimization here is not the best, and the app could use some major visual uplifting as well as improvements to the functionality. The OnePlus Fitness Band also isn't the best in terms of battery life. OnePlus claims that the band will last for 14 days, but based on battery drain and a typical day's usage, it lasted hardly a week. This is clearly a first attempt by OnePlus, and we hope that the next generation of this will be better and bring about some major improvements to the software and battery. Overall, OnePlus gets marks only for attempting this product, but not for succeeding at it.
So that then was the Cell Guru Show for this week. I've already made the announcement. We are back to regular programming and we are hitting the ground running because the companies are, there's so much happening. So join me next week.
Ryan, thank you for joining us. Congratulations. Signal has been topping the App Store charts globally. Now, how is Signal scaling up to match the growth, and at what speed?
We're basically all hands on deck. We've been losing a fair amount of sleep, but we've been scaling up our servers to make sure that we have enough capacity for all the users that want to use our app. And so far we've been able to manage the load. Obviously, I have a lot of experience doing this. I've been in the industry quite a while. We're excited because, the Indian country and people have really signed up quite considerably. And it's been exciting, to see so many people and get so much feedback and to already get tons of feature requests and things like that. I know that people are really excited to try out Signal and explore it, and it's a great opportunity for us.
Well, I hope you do get some sleep soon. Signal is now being compared to WhatsApp. Both products are founded by you and they're competing against each other. So how do you feel about that? And what do you think are the key features where Signal scores over WhatsApp?
I think that where Signal absolutely scores above WhatsApp is in the privacy category. You know, you see it in the privacy label in the app, in the iPhone app, placed in the App Store. And you see it in sort of how we build our product. We have privacy features, disappearing messages, things like that. Everything is encrypted, including your metadata. You know, we lead and win on privacy. Of course, you know, WhatsApp has, 400 million users in India. It's a big market. There's a lot of excitement around WhatsApp in people's day-to-day lives. We're just grateful for the opportunity to show the product to the people of India and to tell them that there's alternatives, help them learn about online privacy, digital privacy, help make sure that they make the right choices in securing their communications and their privacy.
Privacy is the way to go. Now, WhatsApp has incredible momentum in India with 340 million users. Meanwhile, digital literacy and specifically data literacy is a challenge. How do you plan to convey Signal's privacy-first USP in the market where people still prefer convenience?
I think a lot of it just comes from a lot of the materials that we present people. If you look at, Signal is called the private messenger in our store listings. Privacy is outlined and highlighted in a lot of places as you use the app. And so I think it comes through pretty easily that it's privacy first. And it's why people were starting to have that conversation of like, well, should I use Signal or should I use WhatsApp or something else? And, I'm glad people are having these conversations and, they're having them with their parents and they're having them with their children. And that's actually helping digital literacy. The education here is extraordinarily important. And I'm glad that Signal can be a part of that.
Well, you did leave Facebook because of your disapproval with how the company intended to use data from WhatsApp. Now, ethical dilemma aside, targeted advertising can help surface more relevant information. So what's your stance on making data sharing opt-in versus not sharing data at all?
When you build systems that are opt-in, they oftentimes are quickly switched to opt-out. And, it becomes the slippery slope of what data do I collect? What data do I not collect? And then people start to get into a position where they're completely surprised. It's like, oh, when I opted in, I didn't realize I was giving you this other information. If you start from a position of, we have no information, you're automatically protecting people's privacy. You're automatically keeping them safe and keeping them secure. And that's the type of tool and utility and communication that I want to be able to protect. There are, of course, alternatives, and people will explore those alternatives and try those alternatives and make decisions for themselves. But I always want to make sure that there's a strong safety net that protects your privacy that you can turn to and have available at all times. And that is Signal.
There are obvious data privacy concerns with Facebook, but it has enabled simpler communication between businesses and users like payment integration. Does Signal's privacy stance allow it to reach such a big, huge ecosystem integration here in India?
I think that it's really early to tell. Right now we're focused really on just sort of protecting and promoting communication. WhatsApp is taking on a lot of other things and other activities, especially in Indian market. And I don't feel the need to necessarily try to do that in direct competition. I'm a big fan of Paytm. I think that it's a great product and people are, they love Paytm as much as they love WhatsApp or and they will grow to love Signal. I don't think you have to do everything in your app. I think what's important is to identify what's your critical functionality and to do it really well.
Instant messaging apps have often been used to coordinate illegal acts. Your co-founder Moxie Mullen-Spike has gone on the record to say that law enforcement should be hard. Now with Signal's world-class encryption, this becomes harder still. What is Signal's stance on cooperating with law enforcement, governments of countries, and to what extent?
What's important is the law. And, the law is there not only, to protect, the law is there to protect its citizens. So, insofar as, Signal can be there to help protect citizens from things like abuse of power, I think it's a very strong, sort of safety that we can offer our users. In terms of law enforcement, I think that, it should be specific and it should be targeted. Law enforcement should be encouraged to be, sort of very specific about what they're going after, and you have the tools and capabilities to do that. More often than it, and Signal helps to protect people from those abuses where people go broad or go wide.
At its inception, you invested $50 million in Signal, and the foundation operates as a non-profit. Now, with the increasing amount of interest and growth in downloads, what is the long-term business plan to ensure Signal can scale up and sustain itself?
We've gone back and forth on, a variety of business plans, and we really like the nonprofit structure, and we really like the, sort of donations and grants business model. Now, that's work, of course, to make sure that you have donors. You have large donors, you have small donors, people that give you, and there's a spectrum of donors. Wikipedia is a great example of a nonprofit technology organization that's able to provide a fantastic service that's free for all. And that's what we're working towards. Part of that's growing the users and making sure that we have enough donors to work with. And then, of course, giving them, a reasonable tool to give us a donation if they prefer. And then we also cultivate large donors. And, that's how we will sustain ourselves in the long term.
And you're saying that you will never take external investments and continue to run on donations?
There's no plan to get any other investment, no. And what I want to do is I want to earn people's donations. That's the right relationship, right? I want to build features and capabilities and build a delightful product that earns your donation. I want you to voluntarily want to give us money, not feel like, oh, I have to pay for it because, I have to pay for it.
Let's talk about future planning. Signal has so far relied on phone numbers that are still tied to users' identity. Are there any plans to introduce user IDs that will let a user completely be private?
I think that we will explore these ideas. I think we give them really good consideration because they give you another layer of privacy protection, and that's what drives us. It's like, how can we? It's one of the features that's most frequently requested of us as well, and so if we build it and when we build it, we would do it in a privacy preserving way at all times.
Lastly, what are your plans for India and to grow here? Will you expand language support for great access and introduce any unique features for the region?
Certainly the languages. I mean, what's wonderful about India, it's such a diverse culture. We already support, I think, 12 different translations, ranging from Hindi, of course, to Urdu and everything else. We have gotten an influx of feature requests from India, so I view it as a collaboration. I have a very good friend and colleague who, lives in Erode, Tamil Nadu, and, I talk to him every day. He's telling me what's going on, helps me understand sort of what the Indian market's like, what's necessary. He's giving me product ideas. I think that's the best way to build a product for India. And what's really awesome is, like, India is such a strong representation of the world that if you build for India, you build for the world.
Have you ever visited India?
Yes, absolutely. I've been there twice, all over, Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi.
So now when can we expect you here again?
It's on the list. It's definitely a place. I've yet to visit the Taj Mahal. That's definitely a one I want to do. But I also want to go back to Mumbai and Bangalore as well. So,
thank you so much, Mr. Acton, for talking to us on NDTV.
Yep, thank you.